Hi, Simon. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Now, we're going to be talking about one book that you've written. Is that it?
That's right. Yeah, I'm very passionate about gold, and I think everyone should sort of look at it as a potential investment. And so, what I've done is written a book that helps people, discover how they can enter this market. I think it should be part of a diversified portfolio. I wouldn't be the kind of person who says, "Oh, you should put all your money in gold," but I think that a lot of people don't have any gold in their portfolio, and I think they should have some. And so the idea of the book is to kind of explain the different types of ways you can enter the market and give people a feel for the market itself, and whether or not they want to get involved.
I see. What does an ounce of gold go for right now in the world market?
Well, it's interesting because there's been quite an uptick in the price relatively recently. So, I think 2,000 US dollars is not a bad proxy. Obviously, it moves around a lot, but prices are that it's getting less cheap than it used to be.
hmm hmm I asked that question because I know very little about gold, but I remember it was the late 70s. An ounce of gold was going for maybe about 50 or $60, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah,
that quite a jump.
it's got a lot more expensive. Yeah, I mean, it's uh, when I was researching the book, I found out that it had come from sort of outer space. Obviously, it's been around for thousands, millions of years, and um, it's finite. One of the things I like about it, to be honest, is you can't print it, and I think it's probably the only asset I know that is considered valuable anywhere in the world. And you can't say the same about uh, probably any other asset.
I've heard that people are investing in art, famous paintings. You can buy shares in a particular painting. I find that unusual. Have you heard about that one?
I have, but it's unfortunately there's a lot of fraud in all markets, including gold. And I don't know much about painting, so what I tend to do is, if I buy gold, I either buy mining shares or if I buy any physical gold, I buy it and store it with a company that knows what they're doing. And you know, I think with art, don't get me wrong, if you know what you're doing, I think that's fine. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're kind of leaving yourself slightly open to abuse.
hmm And when you say investing in gold, does that mean literally buying gold bars?
No, I think this is one of the misconceptions that people have. You can buy lots of different, uh, or you can enter the market in lots of different ways. You don't have to buy gold bars. You could buy coins, or you could buy shares in mining companies, in producers, or developers, or explorers. There's lots of different types of companies. Lots of different ways you can buy into the gold market if you want physical gold. And I'd never take delivery. I'd always get it stored and insured by someone who knows what they're doing. I tend to liken it to buying fine wine because um, if you buy it off a reputable dealer and they've stored it and insured it, then when you come to sell it, because it's never left their premises, they've got no reason to believe that there's anything wrong with it. So uh, that's one of the reasons I like to just go down that route. And it's the same with wine. If you get a good deal and you take delivery, unless you're going to drink it, when you come to sell it, people always want to know, where you bought it from, how you stored it, and everything like that. And chances are you'll end up selling it at a great discount, and kind of slightly defeats the object of what you're trying to achieve.
hmm Now, in your book, do you write about the history of gold and, where it came from when it started and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, what I try and do is, uh, I called it investing in a recession, but it's really a beginner's guide to gold. So what I do is I try and set the scene so people can understand where it's come from and why it could be valuable, or why it is valuable, and then I set out how they may want to get into the market. I describe it very much as sort of beginner's level. If you want to get more advanced, you can. But I think it's a useful way for people to to get the ball rolling.
Can you lose money on gold?
Nothing is bulletproof, but I mean, I think this is, there's lots of different ways of holding gold. You can hold physical gold, um, which, yes, it moves around, but it's unlikely to move more than, a percent, most 2% a day. Highly unlikely. Or you can buy explorers that can move 20, 30, 40% in a day. And so, one of the things I say to people is, you need a diversified approach. And I wouldn't suggest for a second that everyone puts all their money in gold. But I think it's an asset class that people should look at. And a lot of people don't. And I think, one of the issues I have with clients is that they say, oh, I want a really good return. And there's always risk return. There's two parts to return. There's risk and there's return. And if you want a high return, you're going to take a high risk. And that's just the way the world is.
Mm-hmm.
But with gold, because it's been around forever, I think that it's a useful addition to a portfolio, because it can, not always, but it can protect you in certain circumstances. And I set some of those out in the book, but I think that it should definitely be considered. And unfortunately, very few people consider it.
One of the stories that really caught my attention, even when I was younger, was how gold was used by the Mayans and Inca for just everyday use. They valued it on a more aesthetic level. In came the Europeans, saw all this gold, and they valued it because they could build an armada. Have you touched anything like that in your book about how different cultures view gold in different ways?
Well, sort of yes and no. I mean, I think, and the same can be said for silver, but I mean, gold and silver, particularly in coins, I could have a gold coin and I could take it anywhere in the world and they could weigh it and say, Simon, that is an ounce of gold. We will give you, whatever the market rate is in their currency, which is a really important point, because if you've got gold, let's say you've got gold in Canadian dollars or US dollars, and that currency tanks, it may be you want to actually liquidate your gold in Chinese yuan or in Russian rubles or sterling, whatever it is. And so I think that holding some gold is also slightly currency agnostic. And but going back to your point, yeah, people do attribute value to it, and I think there's there's a value of the physical gold. But then if a lot of work has been done on it, and let's say it's a watch or something like that, then or even a guitar, you could have a guitar with gold on it. It makes it slightly unique, and that can have a dramatic impact on the price.
So back in the beginning, when they first discovered gold and discovered how to give it value and then make coins and go from a barter system to I'll give you this gold coin or whatever, and then I get 50 chickens for it or something. Here's a question. Why gold?
Well, going back to what I was saying earlier, it's ubiquitous. It's something that people want, and you can't print it. It's got value, and I think that if I've got 20 chickens and you give me a piece of gold for it, then I've got a value. I value my chickens. You value your gold, and well, I value the gold and the chickens. And we've got a transaction. It could be in silver. It doesn't matter. But I think the point is, I've got something in that I value, and I'm prepared to give you 20 chickens for. If you turn around to me and said, Simon, I've got a piece of lead, can I have 20 chickens? I'll probably say no. But if you say I've got a piece of gold, do you want 20 chickens? I'll probably say yes. Mm-hmm. So it's all down to value. And as you mentioned earlier, bartering, I will have a value and you will have a value. And what we need to do is try and find the point at which the values equate. And if you turn around to me and say, well, I can only have 10 chickens for your piece of gold. I may knock on your neighbour's door and they say, well, Simon, we'll give you 20 for your piece of gold. And then I buy the chickens from them. So, it's all about bartering and about value. And one of the things I love about gold is if I've got my piece of gold, I can take it anywhere in the world and I can do a deal with someone.
So how about people who don't value gold? They think, well, gold is just, it's shiny, it's nice, and they say it's worth this amount, but who's they and why should we believe that?
I think it's very much up to people's own belief system. And I've heard the phrase, people know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And I think that's if you end up with a situation where you've got gold and let's go back to the chicken analogy, and I say I want 10 chickens for this piece of gold or 20 chickens, and they say, oh no, I may be able to get chickens with my piece of gold, I may not, but it does have a wide understanding of value. And what I like about gold is if let's say a piece of gold is worth 20 chickens, I think there's more chance of me being able to, let's say, get a plumber to repair my plumbing and give him a piece of gold than say to him, can you repair my plumbing? And I've got 20 chickens for you. So I think it's more ubiquitous, and I think people have got a better understanding of it, and that value that you asked about, I think it comes down to very much to the person and what they want and what they need. But I think in a lot of cases, they'll want something done, or they'll want to eat something, or whatever it is, and having a piece of gold sort of tilts the odds in their favor of having an asset that other people want.
Paper money was meant to represent the amount of gold there is in the treasury of any given country. That's not the case, is it?
No, not at all. No, I mean it's there used to be a gold standard, but that was abolished. And what I like about gold is um, it's got value by itself. If I've got a piece of gold, it's got value. With fiat currency, it's the government behind the fiat currency that ascribes a value, and providing everything goes well, that's fantastic. But if there's problems, then at the end of the day, you've got a piece of paper, and that so at the top of the show, I said, I'm a great believer in having everything, and so you may have some pieces of paper, but I think you should have a bit of gold as well.
Yeah. So what about precious gems and other precious metals?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of the things I like about gold is you can cut a gold bar in half and it's still worth, the two pieces are still worth the same as the one piece. You cut a diamond in half, you're destroying it a lot of its value.
Right.
But going back to having some gems as well, I wouldn't put you off that. I think that if people want to have diversified portfolio, perhaps they do want to have some diamonds and some gems. But I would say, you probably want to have some gold as well. And I think there's a real desire to have a really broad portfolio, and it may be that someone has got 5% of their money, let's say, in gold and precious metals, and 5% of it in gems. Again, I'd say you need to know what you're doing. You need to have someone you trust that you're buying your gems off. But if you've got that and it's not expensive for you, and you know that they're for real and they can be stored and insured cost effectively, then yeah, absolutely, why not?
Yeah. In your book, do you touch on the value of gold in times like not the end of the world, but things crashing, falling apart?
If that happens, we're all obviously in huge trouble. I mean, I think what I would say is that one of the reasons I like gold coins and for that matter silver coins, it's a bit like when you go shopping, you want to have going back to the cash days, a broad denomination of notes in your wallet. You don't just want to have $100 notes. You want 50, 20, 10 single dollar notes. So if you want to buy something that is relatively cheap, you've got the right money. If you want to buy something that's expensive, you've got the right money. And I'd say it's the same with gold and silver coins. You know, a gold coin could be worth, let's say, $1,000 quite easily, and a silver coin is probably more like, I don't know, let's say $50. So, you know, if you're going into that sort of world of Armageddon, then I think having a broad range of coins is probably no bad thing. And I mean, one thing I do say to people is, you know, gold is not just an investment; it's a form of insurance as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we ever do end up in a horrible situation like you just outlined, you know, having enough money for a few weeks is probably no bad thing. Having money for longer than that, you know, I'm not sure you kind of want to be alive anyway.
Sure.
So I I don't touch on it in terms of having a chapter that covers it, but I certainly touch on the logic of you know, perhaps how you should be thinking for all eventualities.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we know someone, I won't mention the name, who has a gold toilet. That's odd.
Yes,
I don't
but
know if it's
again,
real gold, maybe gold plated. What do you think?
it's yeah, but I think it's funny because you know people talk about the golden years, you know, the gold medal at the Olympics. They've been as good as gold. There's a lot of references to gold in life, and a lot of people, you know, I wouldn't say a lot of people have gold toilets, but you know, if you've got something that's gold, it tends to be something that you know you're quite proud of, and you know you're quite flashy. Um, Very few people actually have gold as an investment, which I find quite, you know, I don't really understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you write this book?
Well, I wrote it. I've been writing it over the last few years. You know, I've written newsletters and for Agora, Money Weeks, and Agora, like the world's largest newsletter business. And as part of the newsletter, you know, people used to phone me up and you know have conversations like I'm having with you. And one of the things that sort of slightly unnerved me was their lack of understanding of investment. And so I thought I'd write a book to try and help people understand investment. So it's you know I wouldn't say it's really much of a money maker for me, but I think it's a way that people can kind of for you know a relatively low cost understand about investment, you know about gold, and you know decide if it's you know if it's something for them or not. One of the things I like about investing in the sector, and it's not necessarily just gold. There's lots of other areas, but I like the idea that you're looking for something tangible. So you know, chances are there's already something there that's been found. You're looking for more of it, and you know, it's probably been there for millions of years. And one of the things I like about this sector is technology is improving, which is obviously good for explorers. You know, you've got drones now that can look in and photograph places that previously you'd have to use an aeroplane for, and perhaps it wasn't very safe going down a valley in an aeroplane. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting time to look at the sector, and you know, part of the book is really trying to get people to do that. One thing that I find quite interesting at the moment is central banks are buying a lot of gold, and I kind of get the feeling they may know something that we don't, but I think there's certainly a good time to look at the sector and have a think if you know if it's right for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, Simon, this chat of ours has been golden. Really enjoyed it. So, any final words you want to say on investing, which is I understand you do that for a living, correct? Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Look, I'm a professional investor, but I mean,
Yeah.
I would urge people to look at gold. If you go to my website www.brookvillecapital.com, you can see some videos I've done with various different organizations talking about gold. It may not be for you, but if it is, this is a pretty cost-effective way that you can take a look at it and decide whether it's something you want to get involved in.
Hmm, good. Well, thank you very much, Simon, for being on the show and enlightening us about gold and making us think about that. It's worthwhile for sure.
It is, yeah. I think everyone should think about it, and if they decide it's not for them, so be it. But you should at least think about it.
All right, Simon. Well, you take care of yourself.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much for your time. Enjoyed it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And that's our show for today. If you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell for future notifications. And if you are a self-published author, I would really like to speak with you. Until such time, keep on writing and be kind to one another.